Hello and welcome to the May edition of Community Connect by the Marshall Area Chamber of Commerce. This month's guest is Eric Wallen. Eric is the Lyon County Sheriff. Thanks for being my guest this month.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. As always, we'll kind of kick off today's episode with kind of a recap of things that went on in the Marshall area community. Again, more things are opening up, less virtual things, a lot more in-person things, which is exciting to see. Earlier in April, on April 9th, in fact, the Marshall Chamber rolled out Marshall Leadership Academy. I should say re-rolling out. This is a program that was in place from 2002 through 2013, and it was time to roll out. We were excited for a lot of upcoming leaders to be part of this program. Applications are due on May 21st. Eric, I know you were a participant of this Marshall Leadership Academy.
Yeah, I was. I believe it might have been one of the very first academies. It's been several years, but it was a great experience, and I would encourage as many people that have the opportunity to take advantage of it.
Yeah. So Eric also was gracious enough. We tried to reach out to as many alumni as possible to help plan it. So a lot easier to plan with alumni that actually gone through the program. So more to come on that. Very excited to roll that out. A couple weeks ago, we had the rally around Marshall. This was a gift card rally, gift card campaign for our Marshall businesses that have really taken it hard over the last month, over the last year. We raised just over $20,000. So thank you for those that called us, went online to buy gift cards for a lot of those restaurants and retailers, and even some nonprofits. People actually called in for a couple nonprofits for donations as well. Traveling Trivia was held at the golf course, which is now called the Fairway. The Fairway is the new restaurant out at the golf course. Have you been there yet?
I have not had the opportunity, no.
Why? Huge menu. So I would encourage you, if you haven't been out to the Fairway, to go out there. Anyway, so they had Traveling Trivia out at the golf course just last week, or actually, I'm sorry, on the 22nd. And they have 14 teams on hand, which is exciting to see. The Chamber held the State of the City address last Wednesday, April 28th, and we had about 115 attendees, really good turnout. Mayor Burns and Sharon Hansen talked about everything that happened in the area from 2020 and what to expect for 2021. Eric, you were there.
Yeah, I was. That was a great experience. It's nice to hear what the projects the city have going on with the city hall updates and the wastewater and water treatment plant projects. It was very interesting.
Yeah, that as you drive through Main Street, City Hall sure does look nice. That is for sure. One of the most exciting things that Marshall has seen in a long, long time, of course, was last Thursday night for the NFL draft. For an NFL nerd like myself, I thought it was super cool. It was just icing on the cake to see Trey Lance go as high as he did. Of course, Marshall High School alumni, and family's been around here for a long, long time. Dad went to school right here on campus at SSU at the time. Mom's been around Marshall for a long, long time. So good to see a hometown kid like Trey Lance and all the visibility that he's getting right now. Of course, Marshall has sure been put on the map, right, Eric?
Oh, definitely. It's been a great experience for the high school and our local community.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take as long. So there was actually, a lot of people don't realize this, there was actually two other people from the early 70s and one from the mid-50s that actually went on to the NFL. They both went to Central Catholic High School way back in the day. They didn't get picked as high, but something tells me, Eric, it won't take as long for the next player to be taken into the NFL as there was from 1970 through 2021.
I'd like to hope not. I think the success builds excitement for a program like this, and I think we'll have a lot of excitement for our football program moving forward.
I think there's a lineman on the Gophers that could be next.
A very good point.
Spring sports has kicked off at Marshall Public Schools. It's good to see Tigers spring action back in action. Last spring, baseball didn't happen, softball didn't happen, track and field, none of these things happened. So it's exciting for Eric and I to go watch our boys play baseball. Softball for the girls are out there, track and field. Golf, of course, is back in action, so very exciting for the Tigers to be back in action. So again, that brings us to our guest for May, Eric. Eric is, as I mentioned, is the sheriff for Lyon County. He's been with the sheriff's office for 23 years, starting in 1998. Over that time, he has served in various different capacities, including correctional officer, patrol deputy, investigator, sergeant, and sheriff since December of 2018. Eric is very involved in town. When I first moved to town, he and I coached on a baseball team together. Since then, he's been on the MABA board. He's also with the Marshall Lions Club, New Horizons Crisis Center, the Rotary, Noon Rotary, Merrick Center Board, and Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. He just joined us last week. So very busy guy. I understand what he's going through. There's a lot of good volunteer groups to volunteer for. So got some questions going to ask today, Eric, about your role in the line as the sheriff, but overall the sheriff's office in general. So,
Sure.
So can you share with us what the Lyon County Sheriff's Office does in terms of structure, the different roles within the organization, the number of employees within the organization?
Certainly. The Sheriff's Office is kind of unique in the fact that we are responsible for the county jail. So we have a jail. We're also required to have the 911 dispatch center. It's the obligation of the Sheriff's Office to provide that service. So we have the 911 call takers, and then we also have a law enforcement section, which is our deputies that you all see out in the patrol car. So amongst those divisions, we have 52 employees, counting myself. We have 22 in the jail, serving the inmates and taking care of them. We have 8 full-time dispatchers and 17 licensed law enforcement officers, counting myself, and 1 part-time law enforcement officer.
So you have just completed 2 years as the sheriff. What are some key areas that you focused on early and over those 2 years as sheriff?
Yeah, that's a good question. I came in wanting to have an agenda of a few things that were important to me. Number one, being the mental health crisis that we're experiencing, and it's not just here, it's nationwide. There's a lot of people that do suffer from various mental health situations, and we're lacking the services and the facilities to provide, in my opinion, proper care, and a lot of the people are ending up in jail just because what they suffer from might lead them to have some minor infraction, and there's not a place that can provide services, and they just end up in jail. Well, jail's not the place. So we've been working with Western Mental Health with a project called the Yellow Ribbon Project to work on a way to provide some services and help keep those people out of jail. Some other stuff that we've worked on is domestic violence. The victims of domestic violence have went through a very traumatic event in their life, and we want to find ways to help them cope with that and much less feel comfortable coming forward and making a report. I mean, just making the report itself is very traumatic because you have to relive what happened. So we redeveloped or redesigned one of our interview rooms from basically the traditional interrogation type room where you have a table and 2 chairs. We softened that a lot. We put in a couch, we put in some soft, comfortable chairs, and some areas for support people to participate in that interview, or advocates as we call them, to help with that, to make it more comfortable. And that's received a lot of positive compliments. Some other stuff that we've done is just recently, beginning of this year, we got body cameras for all our officers. If you watch the news, you see a lot of the body cam footage being released for various incidents, and I thought, we really need to be in front of that and utilize those things, one, for transparency amongst how we operate, and number 2, as a means to provide accountability for how we operate as well. I mean, it's twofold. And lastly, I've been really trying to stress some cost-saving measures. We've been working on a lot of grants and different funded projects that way. For example, we have a boat and water safety program that is funded through grants from the state. It allows us to get out on the water and provide enforcement and safety and education programs for the youth. The same thing with the ATVs through the DNR. We run an ATV safety course and provide some enforcement that way. And even today, we had a county board meeting today, so I went and I presented a grant that we received so we can purchase a sonar for our boat. Just help in recovery efforts if we, heaven forbid, we don't, but have a tragic incident on the water and we have to do a recovery effort. The technology like that can really help things along, but this is all grant money that things we probably couldn't provide without it. So that's things I've really been striving to do.
Right. How many lakes are there in Lyon County that you know?
I can walk through on my head. Here we have Cottonwood, and one in Ballatin, School Grove Lakes up by Cottonwood, Twin Lake Parks.
Yeah.
There's a new park the county has developed, and there's Rock Lake. There's about 5 or 6. There's a few more that actually have good public access points,
Yeah, right.
but there's a lot more as well that you could get a canoe or kayak in
Sure.
as well. But yeah.
Sure. In what areas have you seen the biggest change in law enforcement since you've taken over? I'm sorry, since you began your career with the Lyon County Sheriff's Office?
Sure. Some of the biggest stuff that we have seen or I have seen is just how technology has changed our profession. So when I started in 98, I was in the jail, but I probably first got in a police car in 1999. And there was a radio, and there was a radar unit to track speeders. It was about yay big, and that was it. Now we have a radar unit that's about yay big. Technology makes everything smaller. We have computers in the squad car. We have video cameras in the squad car now that are mounted to the windows, so all our interactions recorded. We have GPS units, things we never had stuff like that before. We now carry tasers. Never heard of a taser before when I first started.
Right.
A few years down the road, they started becoming more popular. So technology is really advanced. Cell phones, for that matter.
Right.
And how cell phones play a role in how crimes are investigated or how matters are handled. Everybody has a cell phone now, so there's all kinds of video evidence or video footage of what has transpired. So that has really changed it. The other stuff is just how the public perceives law enforcement lately has really changed from when I first started to now. And I would say here in Lyon County and Marshall, we're very fortunate. I feel we have a very positive relationship with our public, and I credit that to those that have come before me and our efforts as well, trying to make ourselves accessible to the public. We are engaged in the public and build those relationships for the years and to foster a positive working relationship, because it really is, and I believe it's a team effort between law enforcement and the community we serve.
Right.
We have to take into consideration what's important to them.
Right.
And that's how we want to guide our practices to meet that effort.
Right. I can vouch for, I see the Sheriff's Office, the Marshall Police Department, the Marshall Fire Department, they're all involved. And it really gains trust when you guys can get involved with them, as many organizations that you all are. This is kind of an interesting question, Eric. What does a day look like for you as a Lyon County Sheriff? It's kind of like when you see out at like an auction, you win principal for the day. What does the day for a sheriff look like?
Sure, it changes every day.
Yeah.
Every day is something different. My role in our office, it's very administrative in nature. I don't get to do a lot, and I say I don't get to because I kind of miss it, but I don't get to do a lot of actual police work anymore.
Yeah.
There's some days that I can, which I do enjoy getting back to where I came from. But a majority of my job is administrative now. I'm on a lot of boards or task force type organizations. For example, our county is involved in a regional communications board, which has to do with radios and 911 communications. I'm actually the chair of that board. This is my second year of chairing that. I'm on our drug task force board. Lyon County participates in a drug task force with 3 other counties, and we have monthly board meetings to govern how that task force is going to run to deal with drugs in our communities. I'm the district director for our district sheriff's association. So we're District 5, there's 8 in the state. And I'm also on the Minnesota Sheriff's Association board as a representative for our region on that. So those type of meetings keep me fairly busy on a state or regional level. Locally, I've also participated in our county board meetings, countywide planning and organization, and a lot of managerial stuff like that. So that's kind of what my day consists of in a nutshell.
That sounds like a week. Right?
It can be at times, it seems like.
So you mentioned challenges, and obviously you're right. Unfortunately, some of the things that we've seen on the news can kind of change the light in law enforcement, which is sad. What challenges do you see the law enforcement facing in the future?
One of them, and it's not really new, it's been here for probably the last 3-4 years, is just recruitment and retention of qualified staff.
Yep.
Law enforcement, as we've seen, is not the most popular business to get into right now.
Right.
So the numbers coming into the colleges and the schools are way down. And then the number of those that actually graduate, that actually pass the licensing exam, reduce the pool altogether. And then we have to get them here in Southwest Minnesota, and that's the hard part as well. Or if we get them here, it's to keep them here.
Right.
We have to be able to provide the amenities and things to offer to them. I think Mayor Burns expressed it very well at the State of the City address is we have to show what Marshall can offer, and there's a lot to offer. But we have to market that to keep the good, qualified people here.
Right. I'm pretty sure that, we open our arms for anybody that wants to move to town and take on that profession from larger cities that are dealing with the stuff that they were dealing with.
Right, and that is our number one, I think, challenge right now. But there's also, like I mentioned before, the mental health issues is one thing that we're continuously working on, and it's still a challenge. And for years, illegal drugs have been an issue, and it's just a circular issue. The drug that you're chasing after might be popular today, and then we'll move on to another one the next year, and it goes around in a circle. It's circular, and our task force arrests the drug dealers, but there's always someone coming to take their place.
Right.
So we're still chasing that, and obviously that's a community safety issue.
Right.
I mean, if you bring that into your community, that brings a lot of other trouble.
Right.
So we're really trying to stay on top of it.
Recreation, marijuana is constantly, on the agenda for the legislative sessions. Of course, it's, very popular in the House right now. I would imagine that kind of gives your department a little bit of heartburn, but not only that, the business community, how much that changes. I mean, then their whole HR plans all have to change because, if this ever gets legalized.
Yeah, it will be a challenge for HR and those type of departments within an organization. It's going to be a lot of policy and rule changes for sure. It'll be a difficult challenge.
Right. I don't think it'll happen this year, but it seems like it's going to have to happen at some point. Well, good. Thanks again for being here as my guest, Eric. So let's talk about what's going on in May. And I know Eric will be able to kind of touch on a few things. Of course, this upcoming weekend is graduation, and I encourage anybody. It should be a very, very busy town. Your staff's going to be busy, and graduations will be busy, and of course, which will benefit a lot of our businesses. But be on the lookout for a lot of these people you might not be familiar with. Give them a welcome smile, because as we just talked about, we want people to move in this area, and the more warm we can be with these families, the more willing they are to come back to town, maybe visit or make this a home. Traveling Trivia is back at the Gambler on May 13th, next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. This will be the COVID version of Traveling Trivia again, where if you are there with your family or your friends and you're having a meal, you're going to get some paper copies instead of the electronic version. The Marshall Garage Sale weekend is next weekend, May 14th and May 15th. Be sure to be checking out the Independent for those maps. I would imagine, Eric, with a couple little kids that you have at home, Abby might be on the lookout for some garage sales.
Yes, there's always keeping an eye out for what deal you can find. That's
right.
for sure.
Right, you always got to check the inventory in your kids' drawers and see what you can take out and donate back and go sailing, garage sailing next weekend. Of course, it doesn't have to be just next weekend, but that's the official weekend of garage sales here in Marshall. The 2021 Spring Craft Fair is back in town next weekend on the 15th. At the Red Baron Arena, over 100 vendors are expected, which is exciting. And finally, on May 22nd, the Lyon County Pheasants Forever Banquet is on track for their banquet out at May 22nd out at the fairgrounds. That's what I was trying to get to say. They're having a picnic-style dinner, indoor and outdoor games, silent auction, bucket raffle, and more. So if you're interested in that, be on the lookout for more details on the Lyon County Pheasants Forever, their Facebook page. So all of these updates can be found on our website at marshallmn.org. A lot of different various events can be found there, or on the Visit website at visitmarshallmn.com. So, Eric, thanks so much for being my guest, and thanks
pleasure.
To you and your department for all you do for the community.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So thanks again for tuning in to the May edition of Community Connect. Next month, I have SMSU student Jacob Olson, who will be my guest. Jacob is with an organization called Enactus here on campus. He'll be talking about some of the group projects that Enactus is working on in the community. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in June.